Hi, Dawn. A pleasure to be with you today. Um, to start, to what extent is textiles recycling actually happening in the world?
Um, to the extent hardly at all. There's two types of recycling. There's mechanical, which is going off into other areas. There's a redivert, which is going off and being mixed with other chemicals and turned into concrete. But reality, it's less than, I would say, about 1% that is actually being fibre to fibre and turned back into another fabric or yarn of any description.
Hmm. When you talk about that, it's when, for example, you take a t-shirt, it's old, it can't be used again, you break it down and you effectively turn it into another t-shirt or item of clothing versus taking a t-shirt and turning it into, as you said, concrete or another material. What do you think the problem is that what is the issue that so few textiles are being recycled?
Well, there's two or three different issues that come into this. At this stage, it's very much cost, but more to the point is there are so many blends of materials now that are mixed cotton and polyester, mixed cotton and elastane, whatever the combination, that makes it very difficult for it to be separated to be recycled. But also it comes down to the types of dyes. So when clothing is produced, it's actually dyed, and those dyes, some dyes can be removed again really simply, but other dyes can't, and therefore it damages the fabrics and the material, so you're not able to remove it before the recycling process can actually happen properly. So you can still recycle it, but the quality that you get out the other end is so poor that actually nobody really wants to use it again. So to get it back into what we are calling a next generation fabric or yarn, it needs to be something that's being able to withdraw the dyes, be single polymer or single monofiber, so that you can actually then take it right back and come back in with a next generation cotton or a next gen polyester, which can then be dyed again nicely, still has the great feel, and you can completely turn it round and start again with it. But where they're so mixed and mixed materials, it's impossible to break that down and to do that in 100%.
How far away do you think we are from a situation where most of our clothing could be truly recycled fiber to fiber?
I think we're coming to a point where brands and producers are actually looking at producing clothing so it can be recycled. But that's going to take probably 5 to 10 years to filter through all the market. And then again, it's about getting these things up to scale and at an affordable price. The cost of polyester chips virgin is very cheap. I think it's less than a fifth of the price of polyester recycled chips ready to go back into fibre. So there's a huge difference in those costings. So I don't predict reality. We're probably not going to get to a position where we can recycle everything, probably for another 30 to 40, even 50 years. I hope we can increase the volumes we're doing really soon, but I think because there's the cost factor, the types of materials we're dealing with now, and actually the education that's needed for the public to actually be able to decide on those choices and what's a good product to buy and what's not a good product, it's going to take a long time, and we need the infrastructure in place to be able to collect the material to be recycled. Because again, one of the biggest problems that recyclers are facing right now is the minute the item is damaged from either being soiled, dirty, so baked beans from a t-shirt, classic example, but down to just being wet. They can't recycle them if they're wet because the water in the material will actually damage the process of the chemical breakdowns that can then cause you to be able to pull it all back to where it needs to be. So there's so many things, and as fast as the academics are trying to work on it, we need to take slightly bit of responsibility for this at home and start helping the process by being really selective about what we're buying and making sure that it's got a life after that.
And what do you think in reality is happening to the majority of our old clothing?
Unfortunately, there are statistics out there that we know at least 56% is still being incinerated or going to landfill, depending on which way But reality is, in my professional opinion, it's probably a lot higher than that, because we're not seeing those numbers in true figures, because it's not checked. Nobody can see how many people are putting them in skips, in tips, in the black bag at home, when they should be putting everything clean, dry. Even if it's stains okay, because that can still be recycled, but clean and dry into a textiles bank for recycling. That's the aim altogether. If it's got a reuse value, it really has to go to a charity shop in the UK, because that's so important.